course, I did cover this one during its original campaign, so I will go ahead and roll that previous footage for you shortly here, but first I'll just let you know what the new expansion is going to be adding, and this is called the New Heroes expansion. So of course it is going to be adding a couple new heroes into the mix that you can choose to play with, which each operate a little bit differently than all the other heroes. And there is also going to be a new story that players can play through that is community driven, meaning that it is partially fan made, but the original creators do also have their hands on it and they're massaging it to make sure that it works within the system and that it's being properly play tested and that everything is properly balanced with it, and that includes whatever components are required to play through that story. Another new change that's coming with this campaign is that they will be officially changing some of the timers for the scenario, which essentially means that players will have more time to explore each of those given scenarios. And I'm kind of glad that I didn't start my campaign yet, because I just love exploring every single corner and detail in a game that I can. And this is the feedback that their team has been receiving, so they wanted to give more time for that exploration. But of course, having a longer timer could also make those scenarios a little bit easier to play. So they're also adding in an elite enemy deck that you can use to upgrade the challenge rating of any of these scenarios. If you don't want to wait till the campaign starts, they do have all these changes listed in their forums here, so you can just go ahead and apply those changes now to your current campaign. But I do like everything I'm seeing with this new reprint campaign, and I was anticipating this campaign coming very soon. I just didn't realize it was going to be this soon, and I was hoping to play my game before jumping in on this second campaign. And I guess I still will try to do that, but with the reception this game's been getting and from my initial impressions of it before, I have a lot of confidence in this one, and it is another campaign that I definitely recommend. So if you want to check it out, I will have it linked down below. And of course, you can click to get notified. And this one is our Discord pick of the week. And Agemonia is a cooperative story-driven RPG board game that takes place in a high fantasy world, and this world has a few problems. First of all, people are discovering some strange ancient devices that seem to be powering up for unknown reasons. And these wouldn't be such an issue except for they're causing earthquakes, tidal waves, electrical storms, and a whole bunch of other cataclysmic events. On top of this, different factions are competing to harness this power for their own benefits, which happens to be throwing the whole region into a civil war. This is a campaign game, and it offers over 30 unique scenarios with some interesting features like evolving maps, and it also gives the players a lot of freedom because it's really up to you and your party to decide if you want to save Agemonia from its destruction or if you want to be its destroyer yourselves. Of course, players will be encountering different locations, monsters, puzzles, and be engaging in combat. And there's also a really neat focus on timed events that will get triggered, and if you don't complete them within enough turns, then those opportunities are going to be lost. Players will be able to develop their own individual characters by making different moral choices, and players will also be able to select the different actions that their characters have, and you'll be able to change those and upgrade them throughout the game. The campaign offers branching storylines with different variant endings for each scenario, and a really neat aspect of this is that there's the whole concept of failing forward. So if you happen to fail a scenario, it doesn't actually end the game and you don't need to reset anything. It just actually ends up taking you down one of those variant paths where you didn't happen to succeed in that scenario, which affects all the scenarios moving forward. This creates a little bit of you win some, you lose some, rather than trying to always win some. And it's also going to create a ton of variability for players like me who just love to see every outcome for every scenario. Something that I think is a real highlight of this game is the way that the map works. It's going to be using a booklet so that you have the maps already set out for you, and you don't have to piece together different tiles in order to build up your map. Completing different scenarios will send you on a path to another page in the book that's going to present you with a new map. And something you might be noticing on this map is that there's a few different icons with numbers on them, and these are called story points. And story points are actually associated with a card that's going to unfold a little bit of the story and present you with some different opportunities, challenges, and choices to make that are going to affect the rest of the game. And these are going to activate when you get within a certain distance of them, and then you're going to draw the associated card, which is going to present you with your discovery. And depending on the outcome of that card, different things can happen, including changing the form of the map. Some of the cards actually have sections of the map, and depending on the outcome, you'll have to put that card down on the map, and it's actually going to change the way that the map looks, and it's going to present some new opportunities because of that. Players are going to be fighting and completing these different skill checks by using their three main skills of might, agility, or will, and then combining that with some dice rolling. In each round, players are each going to be able to take an action, which could be things like healing, attacking, focusing, which allows extra dice rolls, or even performing additional maneuvers, which I'll explain in a second. But the way that this works is that players are actually going to be pre-deciding the actions they're going to take, and then an initiative card gets drawn that's going to dictate the player's turn order depending on the types of actions that each player took. So the initiative card actually has a list of action types, and then they get resolved in that order. If there are enemies on the board, their actions will also get executed as part of this. And then I mentioned maneuvering, which players are always able to do at least once on their turn, but you can spend your action in order to perform an additional maneuver. And maneuvering just allows players to move or recover stamina or mana, but it can be played at any time on their turn, and you aren't locked into your decision like you are with actions. And stamina is a very important resource in the game because you're going to be using it to do all the sorts of things that you're going to do, but it also doubles as your health. I feel like the Discord community and myself are getting a little too aligned lately because this one's also my pick of the week. And as usual, there's a few reasons why I'm picking this one, but a big one is that I just think there's a ton of really great design choices. First of all, I really love to see these map books. It's a great mix of functional design. It's got some really beautiful artwork as well, and I really like how everything's broken up. It's very clean and easy to see where the different spaces are and the different icons, but it also has that sort of chaotic and natural feel to it. Of course, those are a little bit more focused on the aesthetics, although those do help streamline a game. The book itself also helps streamline the game because you don't have to go setting up complex scenarios and looking for different components and tiles. And especially for an RPG style game, this is a really nice feature to have because it really eliminates some of those inhibitions that you might have when it comes to playing the game due to the length of the setup. I also really like the fail forward aspect of the game, and I think a lot of RPGs should take notes here because it has a lot of benefits when it comes to both immersion and streamlining the game. It really gives your game an extra layer of continuity rather than breaking players out of the game world anytime something goes wrong, and it makes the game a little bit more about having fun and dealing with your failures rather than trying to get everything right in the first go. It also reduces fiddliness and streamlines your entire experience since you won't have to be resetting components and players back to certain save points in the game, and there isn't that whole aspect of having to do a complete hard reset because you did something wrong. And I think most of us would agree that it's more fun to continue moving forward rather than to reset and then do everything over again. But the nice thing is that that is still always an option if you want to play it that way. I also like how players can upgrade their actions and specialize in certain areas and change what they're good at throughout the game. I think it's really cool how the pre-programmed actions work with the maneuvers that give you a little bit of flexibility, but then also some restrictions on every turn. And this one might be more specific to my taste when it comes to board games, but I really like how this campaign doesn't have a whole lot of flavor text. It does have quite a lot, but you're going to be reading it in bite-sized chunks. I think most of the story is actually uncovered through the story cards as you play the game, rather than reading pages and pages of story from a booklet.